Hello everyone, and welcome to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. My name is ATR, and today we're gonna have ourselves a 1v1 on Kholodny Ferma. Our heroes today are going to be Fortune, playing as the Ostir, or Wehrmacht faction, in the blue. And his opponent is going to be shadowwada, playing as the Soviets of the Red Army. So, we're back in the groove, getting a couple casts done in a semi-frequent nature, so that's good, feeling good. But, I don't know how long it'll last, guys. I mean, I can actually say right now that it's not going to last long because, let's see, today is I'm recording this on the 23rd. So, basically, I'm going to be gone in about a week and a half, so the first week of August, I'm actually going to be out of town again, so yeah, that's gonna be bad, but okay. Anyways, who cares about me? Let's go and see about the game. So for now, we see Fortune getting himself tier 1 like you would expect, getting double grunts to start off with, and for shadowwada, getting conscripts, and more conscripts. Center map, we see Fortune laying down some wire, making sure that cover is removed. And down south, we have some conscripts for shadowwada laying down some sandbags as they capture that southern munitions. Wow, sorry. Currently, though, in the middle, we do see a grand squad hold up inside the Church of Fortune, duking it out with the conscripts at range here by the heavy cover of the truck. Now, considering there is, of course, really just one guy there shooting, the conscripts should win that engagement, even though it's going to be long. They're just slowly but steadily going to be shooting the men inside. Interestingly enough, though, we see Fortune getting himself a very early mortar. Not MG or anything, following it up after the 2 grunts with a mortar squad. For shadowwada, we see 3 conscripts total, getting himself a second combat engineer on the field. It is currently moving down south. I'm going to assume that it's going to be building some type of tech right here. Yep, there it goes, going ahead and building tier 2. So, probably getting some Maxim soon after that. So for now, we hear the mortar opening fire on the forces of shadowwada. Shadowwada backpedaling a little bit, getting into some heavier cover, or well, some more heavy cover, because it's not really different than the car, but moving back a little bit to make sure everything's in order. Up in the north, conscripts capturing the victory point, while grunts nearby are capturing the strategic point on the far north. No real engagement going on so far. And in the far south, combat engineers capping as the conscripts just hold their ground by the munitions point with the sandbags that they lay down. Fortune getting himself a 3rd grand squad on the field. Mortar squad still bombarding what it can. Seems to be bombarding the house, assuming that probably something is going to be in there. And with good reason. Conscript squad taking a little bit of damage in that process, but the house taking the bigger brunt of the damage, brought down to about half health. Mortar squad shifting its position up to the north a little bit. It looks like it's going to be setting itself up on the actual point to cap while it can bombard into both sides of the battlefield. Up in the north, we hear conscripts duking it out with the grand squad up in this northern shack. Now, these grunts do have windows, so they are able to open up on those conscripts. But with the mortar support, that should actually turn the engagement a little bit easier there for Fortune. Combat engineer squad with flamethrowers moving up to the north, going to be engaging that mortar squad. The mortar squad is out in the open and unsupported. It will be taking quite a bit of damage there and potentially losing itself. Conscript squad did take a little bit of a beating there to the mortar, down to 4 men. The grunt squad with only 2 men left decide to engage, closing the distance and getting on top of the conscripts and forcing them away. Combat engineers, though, do force away the mortar as it's forced to retreat, and they manage to push on through the center, seemingly going for the cutoff on this point, although with the center victory point, that's not actually going to cut off anything. Grunts down to 1 man in the center, forced to retreat. Seems to be the lead squad, as we see shadowwada laying down some mines in the center of the road. For now, back at base, we don't have any additional tech for Fortune. And with the tier 2 down, we do see the Maxim machine gun coming into play for shadowwada, currently holed up inside the church. Up in the north, MG42 is now on the field for Fortune, getting us some barrages going there on the combat engineers. Combat engineers retreating. We'll be taking a couple extra shots there as those grunts move along, but there's only 2 men on those grunts. It's a very healthy squad, so in no way, shape, or form would it be any danger. Center map, combat engineer squad trying to capture the point. Oh, nasty shot lands on the entire combat engineer squad, eliminating in one blow. The mortar squad feeling rather proud of that. Conscript squad's moving up to engage, forcing it to retreat, but the damage is done. The combat engineers have been eliminated, and shadowwada suffers the loss. MG42 up in the north manages to get a quick suppression going on the conscripts as they move forward. Conscripts still manage to break the suppression by ducking into a house and are now engaging across the way. Maxim machine gun moved up on the side, managing to get some suppression going on both the MG42 and the Grand Squad nearby. The MG42 with the suppression becomes less effective, and even though it will keep shooting, its values go down and really doesn't do anything if it gets pinned down, even though it keeps shooting. So for now, the conscript squad popping out of the house. MG42 will be left there to eventually get knocked down. Mortar squad does move up, however, to get some shots flying. Manages to get a smoke barrage right on top of the Maxim machine gun. Very, very ingenious there of Fortune, breaking line of sight on the MG, allowing the MG42 to actually, stay on the field. However, with some combat engineer squads and flamethrowers moving up on top of them, MG42 is forced to retreat. The mortar trying to do as best it can, now getting assaulted by the conscript squad. But we do have tier 2 now down for Fortune. 222 coming onto the field right now, and it's going to be barraging the conscripts, chasing them down a little bit, and maybe perhaps even picking up a kill. Nah, it's not seeming to be too aggressive. It looks like it's just going to take some shots on the way and move up to the north to actually chase down some combat engineers. Conscripts are nearby. They do have access to anti-tank grenades, so Fortune needs to be rather careful with that. LMGs are getting upgraded on the grants of Fortune. And we also have a mortar on the field for shadowwada to try to fight back against that German mortar. Center map, Grand Squad with its LMG moving forward, getting suppressed by the Maxim, and quickly being forced to retreat. shadowwada selecting his Doctrine. Both players actually selecting their Doctrine. We see Fortune selecting the Fortified Armor Doctrine. We don't see it that often, but, got some pretty decent options there. And for shadowwada, we have an oldie but a goodie, and that is, of course, the Guard Mortar Coordination Tactics. And we see him call in Guard Squad. Guard Squad, excellent choice to counter the 222. PTRS rifles, while not very powerful, in the individual shot, they do have 2, and of course are able to shoot frequently enough that they pose a significant threat to a 222, and could actually take it out if it is not careful. So the MG42 hold up inside the check, getting some barrage. I don't know why I say barrage, it's not really a barrage, but getting some volleys going there on the conscript squad. The conscript squad does get suppressed, but it manages to get itself into heavy cover of the truck, so it allows it to actually break the suppression, even though they are right there in front of the MG. MG42 does change its angle, and it's now focusing on the guards. Guards getting mortared on the face, losing 3 of their members, and being forced to retreat very, very quickly. Up in the north, Grand Squad engaging the combat engineers. Combat engineers down to 1 man. LMG very dangerous in that regard, but should be okay. As we see a conscript squad up in the north in the heavy cover. German mortar trying to do as best it can here to bombard. Seems to be focusing up in the north. No, focusing over here in the center. As the Soviet mortar establishes its position, or repositions itself. I don't know what I want to say. Anyways, it just moves out of the way, gets itself in a better position, and will keep on fighting. Maxim machine gun in the church, still taking, some hits there, but the church seems to be withstanding the shots of the mortar significantly well. Grand Squad's up in the north, moving up as the conscripts hold up inside the house. We do have the other Grand Squad behind it, capturing the fuel point. And down south, the Grand Squad quickly forces the retreat of a conscript squad, and everything goes back to base. 222 going to be moving into the center. Looks like it's going to be harassing the mortar. Mortar going to be forced to retreat. We'll be taking some damage here and maybe even getting cleared out. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, as the weapon itself will not be lost. Conscripts Ura forward, get a nice anti-tank grenade right on top of that 222. 222 now in the line of sight of a Maxim machine gun. The Maxim machine gun will be eliminating it. And even if it doesn't, we have the guard squads coming up on the flank, getting right behind that 222. Should be able to finish it off with a nice little PTRS shot. There it goes. And down goes the 222 for Fortune, giving him a little bit of a tough time there. Grunt squad up in the north retreating. We have more grunts trying to do what they can here as the combat engineers with their flamethrowers doing as much damage as they can. Grunt squad down to 2 men, moves along on the other side of the fence, retreats, making sure that the retreat path is optimal. Pioneer squads with sweepers right in front of everything. They're going to try and sweep the mine, but that actually exposes them to get just gunned down. The troop itself is not going to survive if it tries to do that. Loses 2 of its members. His retreat will potentially lose another member on the retreat, but with the Maxim machine gun gone from the church, everything should be okay and the squad will stay alive. Oh, but it looks like they did actually manage to remove the mine. I thought for a second there he was forced to actually cancel it. Grand squad down south trying to go for that fuel. Quickly gets overrun there by a lot of conscripts, forced to retreat. 2 men strong, so should be able to make it out of there without really any issues. As we see up in the far north, the combat engineer squad. Again, more mines getting laid down all over the place here for shadowwada. But Fortune is, you know, relatively aware of that. Doesn't exactly know the positions, but, you know, he knows. As most opponents would in this stage or level of game, that mines are usually a thing. But remember, mines win games sometimes. They have the potential to win games. Anyways, double MG42s on the field for Fortune, making sure that the infantry can't just simply flood all over the place. It is a risky endeavor there, as there is, of course, the Soviet mortar on the field for shadowwada, as you see it right now, throwing some barrages at those MGs. But with, of course, the support of its own mortar, Fortune should be able to engage. A counter barrage was engaged there on that squad, but it was not really working there. It wasn't actually returning fire on the mortar squad, so Fortune seems to have toggled it off instead. As we see a Grand squad down south getting forced off by a conscript squad. And Pio's going for the cutoff. Conscript squad was retreating, so it allows the Pios to disconnect the point. Conscripts Ura forward, managing to get themselves on top of the Pios. But the damage is done. The points have been disconnected, reducing that fuel and munitions income for a little while. Point should be back into possession for shadowwada very soon, but, you know, every little bit helps, I suppose. Maxim machine gun up in the north, trying to cover the point. However, its range of view does not allow it to actually see the Grens that are still capturing the point. The machine gun itself will need to move itself a little bit further forward to be able to do much.
We are losing a sector.
As we see the Grens capturing the point, moving a little bit forward, revealing themselves to the Maxim machine gun, taking a little bit of damage and then retreating. There are some mines along the way, however, they are not in the direct path, so Fortune will not be hitting any of those. MG42 in the center, trying to cover the, well, the center of the map, or the north. As we see Tier 3 now down for shadowwada. We see a queuing up, though. We see T-70 light tank coming into the field right now, and then following it up after that is an Su-76. Usually you don't want to queue up, you know, because the resources aren't being spent, but he had the resources, so it's fine. Ideally, what you want to do is have had the T-70 come into play as soon as you were able to purchase it, and then get the Su-76 as soon as that was available. But, you know, sometimes you're not sure what to do. You're kind of waiting to see if your opponent is going one way or the other, so you know which things to get, and resources start accumulating in that regard. So Grens up in the north trying to push forward as combat engineers and conscripts are trying to hold that munitions point. Munitions point does get taken, and we see the T-70 coming onto the field. T-70 will get fausted here by these Grens. The Grens are very clumped. Oh, nasty shot there by the T-70. Eliminates the squad there for Fortune. And the pilot squad is forced to retreat as shots landing up in the north, doing a little bit of damage. Pack gun and the MG trying to do what they can, but we do have a flanking conscript squad right behind all the squads here. shadowwada managing to maneuver his troops into a very advantageous position. Guard squad up in the north, getting some DP light machine guns off on the MG. The MG might actually be lost here. No, gotta make it out of there with a sliver of health left with one man. Grenade flying at the Grens. Grens dodging it and putting themselves in a position again. Pack gun on the field ready to support. The T-70 moves itself out of the way and gets shot in the face. Grand Squad retreating as the guards are moving out of the way themselves. And the conscripts in the center go for the point. Victory points are 385 to 444, currently in the lead for shadowwada. Conscripts coming up on the flank, going to get themselves behind that MG42. MG42 will be moving back. And down south, the Grand Squad, lone Grand Squad trying to go for some capping. Su-76 now on the field as well for shadowwada. Does have access to those artillery barrages. Could potentially try and remove the MG from an assault. As the T-70 up north is moving along now. The mortar did die at some point. Seemingly, from what I see here, it probably died to the German mortar. 17 kills in total, doing quite a lot of work. But it is recovered now, so no real big deal. No need to see when it actually happened, I suppose. So Grand Squad down south trying to chase down that T-70. Manages to get itself beat up a little bit there. The second Grand Squad, though, moves up on the flank. Gets a good shot there on the T-70. And now the Grens pursue. The Su-76 unable to really do too much. Nice barrage going into that house. Might actually collapse it. Fortune may lose his squad here. Whoa! Manages to duck out of the house just in time before the shot flies and collapses the house on top of them. Grand Squad pushing forward, trying to get themselves right behind those Grens. The Grens are going to be focus fired here on every side by everything. However, they stand strong and remain in their position for a little bit extra time, allowing the pack to actually make its way out of there and not get itself cleared out by the guards. Up in the far north, the Pilot Squad is capturing the fuel point while we see the guards pushing forward. Mortar Squad moving out of the way as the MG42 sets up to try and stop the approaching infantry. Maxim machine gun being brought up here to provide some support. Thankfully for shadowwada, the Maxim machine gun is focusing on the MG, while the MG is currently focusing on the guards, which allows it to get suppressed and pinned down, which does not really allow it to do too much. Mortar Squad does get a nice shot flying there on that conscript squad, as we see more Grens pushing out of the base with their LMGs. Fortune popping his command tank to provide some additional support. Now, command tank won't have that easy a time. There is a guard squad and the Su-76 on the field. Su-76's main gun is strong enough to penetrate the armor of a Panzer IV, so it needs to be relatively careful. T-70, not so much, but you see there the Su-76 getting a good shot flying. Conscripts managing to get an anti-tank grenade flying at the command tank, getting some damage in there, and the command tank taking some punishment, gets brought down to about 30% strength as the Su-76 is forced to retreat with the approaching Grens. Maxim machine gun up in the north, managing to get some suppression going on a Grand Squad. Grand Squad gets pinned down. Pack gun moves up, trying to provide some anti-tank firepower there against the Su-76. Realizing it can't really do that, it's going to be backing off a little bit. Maxim machine gun up in the north, retreating. As we see the Panzer IV moving all the way back to base. Going to be needing some repairs. And the piles are quickly running back behind them. 342 to 444, 100-point lead for shadowwada right now. As we see the combat engineers getting some repairs going on the T-70. Artillery barrage flying there from the Su-76, trying to hit whatever is in the center. Rifle grenade, nice rifle grenade there on the mortar squad, eliminating 2 of its members, but with 6 men, it's really hard to get a wipe like that. So they remain strong and stay on the field. Conscripts could, of course, merge with them and keep the numbers of the squad high. And up in the north, the MG42 going for that munitions point, while we see some more capping around behind it. Center map, conscripts trying to go for the point. Gren's getting right on top of the point itself to deny the decap. Fortune does not want to concede any points right now and actually start leaning it in the other direction. Down south, a conscript squad seemingly wanting to go for the point, but then it moves itself into the light cover there and actually does not capture the point.
Heavy machine gun team prepared for combat.
We hear a lot of indirect firepower flying in all directions, as we also see shadowwada getting himself 2 mortars on the field. Has one up here in the north, one down south, trying to fight against that German mortar, which has veterancy 3, 19 kills in total, doing quite a lot of damage, well, yeah, damage. Panzer IV command tank in the center gets anti-tank grenaded by these conscripts. However, it is not enough damage to crit the engine, so it allows it to move unhindered. Su-76 getting some shots in the center there. Pioneer squad going to be repairing very quickly on the fly. Mortar squad's trying to do what they can. We do have maximum machine guns, also 2 in total for shadowwada. As we see the squad down south pinning down both a Grand Squad and a Pio squad. Grand Squad managing to throw a rifle grenade at it. Gets a decent hit, does a lot of damage on the health, but only kills 1 man. And up north, the T-70 seems to have cleared out a MG-42, which is now there for the taking for shadowwada, though I do not know whether he actually wants to do that or not. Probably not, though, although it's strange that he didn't target fire it with both the PTRS rifles and the T-70 to potentially destroy the weapon itself. So the command tank gets buttoned up in the north, reducing its speed in both movement and attack. However, the guards disengage on the button. As we see the Su-76 moving up, conscripts will be throwing an anti-tank grenade. Oh! Nasty move there by Fortune, managing to crush some of the conscripts, making them pay for their transgressions. Panzer IV moving out of the way. The Su-76 trying to get some shots flying, but it seems to be just impacting the wall of a house. And the Panzer IV slowly crawls out of the way and stays in the game. Grand Squad down south trying to cap. Victory points down to 273 for Fortune. As we see conscripts and combat engineers down south going for that victory point. The Grand Squad down to 1 man. Won't be surviving long if it stays there, although it looks like it will stay for the victory point, and because it cannot really move, it's going to stay there and die. And it also drops a weapon, a very nice weapon there for shadowwada to take, if he is so inclined, although the positioning of it makes it difficult to click on it. So we'll see if he can actually pick it up. Up in the north in the meantime, though, we hear some engagements as the Su-76 moves up. Artillery barrages flying, trying to break the lines here of Fortune. It's combat engineer. T-70 straight through the center, going on that mortar. The mortar quickly forced to retreat. At this stage, I mean, Fortune doesn't really want to lose the mortar, even if he doesn't lose the weapon. It's a veterancy 3 squad, so it's very powerful and very quick to fire, so you kind of want to keep it. As we see the southern point getting disconnected, the combat engineer squad not capturing the point, and the conscripts ignoring the point and the weapon and going up further north. T-70 in the center gets a nasty shot there in the face by that pack gun. Pack gun going to be moving out of the way and trying to recover. As we see the what's it called, the T-34-85 coming into play for shadowwada as he gets his tier 4 up and running. It's a difficult situation here for Fortune. I mean, he does have access to an elephant with which he could potentially destroy all those vehicles, but I mean, he needs a little bit more fuel, and considering the manpower he's got floating, I think that's exactly what he's going to do. Wonder, though, is that's actually going to really do much. It is a tank destroyer, so it'll obviously destroy tanks. Su-76 did get destroyed. Somehow managed to actually miss that, so I'll write it down and make sure that I know when that happened. As we see one of the mortars getting cleared out at the front there by the command tank. The T-30-45 moves up, duking it out with the command tank, but we see Fortune popping his elephant and is going to be moving it straight there. The elephant is a titan of a beast, and tanks melt upon its gaze. So we shall see what happens here. As a command tank at the center, duking it out against the T-34-85. We see a nasty shot there by the pack gun, managing to stun the T-34-85. T-34-85 moving back. Elephant lumbering up. Reconnaissance overflight getting called in by Fortune to allow him to get sight of the tanks. We see the T-34-85 getting focused right now by the Elephant. The Elephant still pushing forward. Very risky and aggressive here as it just moves itself into the range of all the infantry. And shadowwada throws in the towel? Wait, what? I mean, I know an elephant is tough, but... Huh. Well, that was weird. And I guess we'll never know what happens. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the game. If you have any positive or negative remarks, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you have any replays you want to send me, go ahead and send them to the email that I will put in the description. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.